Hey, it's Matt, your average gamer, and guess what? For this video, we're going to be showing you a new Dragon King build. This is going to be amazing. There's so much you could do with the Dragon forms in Shadow of the Erdtree. Honestly, they're one of my favorite things. I'm going to go into detail in this video on where to get everything and how to get super powerful. This detailed guide will show you exactly how to get everything, but more important to the point, this is the most fun I've had in Shadow of the Erdtree yet. I have not had this much fun in as long as I can remember. This was incredible. This is so cool. The Dragon forms, essentially, they could boost Dragon Cult and Dragon Community Incantations, and you can quite literally turn into a dragon. It's honestly so cool. The Dragon forms were one of the really amazing additions they've added to Shadow of the Erdtree that boost already great spells and incantations. We're going to go over all that in detail. First things first, though, is getting the Priestess Heart. You're going to have to do Egon's questline, if that's how you say his name, but he's essentially the guy that you're going to be following up the mountain in Shadow of the Erdtree. You're going to talk to him each time, and you're going to make sure that you talk to the priestess here first before you do Egon's questline, and you're going to continue on throughout his entire questline, because towards the end of it, once you come back here, you could receive your first Dragon Heart. Well, Dragon Transformation, we'll call it. It'll end up being the Priestess Heart. The other one, I think, is the Rock Heart. So there it is on the map there at the Grand Altar of Dragon Communion. You're going to go here first. Then you're going to follow Egon all the way up, doing his questline and killing the dragons as you go. I tried not to ruin his entire questline. I guess this is the end of it, but I was trying to show a little bit of this. I couldn't figure out whether to pick the beginning or the end. Honestly, his intro when you summon him is much better than towards the end. You do not want to miss his intro, and I recommend summoning him, but after you defeat Baal, you know where to go. So after taking down that incredibly easy giant dragon, I'm kidding, he could definitely be tough with the camera angle. You're going to go back to the Grand Altar, and guess what? You're going to get the Priestess Heart, which boosts Dragon Cult Incantations by 20%. And the big deal there is boosting Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike, which already does a ton of damage, and now we could boost that 20% more, including Lightning Spear as well, and the new Lightning Spear, which is also very good. Now we're going to talk about getting the Rock Heart. So in Shadowkeep, in the open area with the boats, you really can't miss this area because I believe you have to go through this area no matter what. Follow me from here. You're eventually going to go down a ladder. We're going to have to find a painting and solve the puzzle to get the Rock Heart. And if you haven't been to Abyssal Woods, this is also the path there as well. So if you have not been to that area of the map, that big open area that has a really cool boss fight, this is the way you're going to go. And keep following me on screen here because the painting here is the important part. Once we grab that painting, we can go and solve the puzzle and grab the Rock Heart. Now, I already grabbed this painting, but that's where you're going to grab it right there on the map. I went from Main Gate Plaza and went upwards and then ended up going down the ladder, and that brings you there. Now we need to complete the picture, which is right here, and I will show on the map where it is. Awesome, we grabbed the Rock Heart. So now once you have both of these, you can boost both. This is exactly where it is, where my character is standing on the map right there. Now we're going to talk about the Priestess Heart, which boosts Dragon Cult Incantations by 20%. I will show you where to get Night Lightning Spear. It's kind of an upgrade of Lightning Spear in a sense. I think it has a little bit less range, or at least on the additional lightning bolts. But anyways, the first time you use the dragon form, it's going to turn you into a dragon. The second time is when you get the buff, which lasts for a minute, so you have to activate it twice. And every time you want to use that minute buff to Dragon Cult or Dragon Community Incantations, you have to activate it again after you're in dragon form. And when you die, you lose your dragon form, so you'll have to go back into the dragon form again using the hearts. Also, if you happen to be lucky enough to never get killed in Elden Ring, which is amazing, I'm not sure how to switch back. I'm not sure if there's a way or not to switch back. Haven't figured that out yet or even tried anything, but so far the way to switch back for me is just upon death, and then you basically reset it again, and then you could use the other heart or put on armor. Because you can't have armor when you use this, by the way. You have to go with no armor to use the heart. And do not try to use the heart, by the way, at the Grand Altar. You can't attack there, so you're not able to use the heart. It took me like 10 or 15 minutes to figure that out. Let's talk about taking down some tough bosses using Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike and our nice boost. So even with a relatively simple build, we're not doing anything too crazy here. I'm using Golden Vow, Halishaburi, and the Jellyfish Shield. Then we're going to add in our Dragon buff. That's going to be everything. I'll go over the buffing order later when I go over the build and locations for everything. And the damage is still phenomenal. This is one of those builds that can make the DLC significantly easier. Even on Mesper here, we're able to phase him in just one cast, even though we took a hit. And we're going to see what we could do with phase 2 on Mesper here. This took a couple tries to get him down pretty easily, but nothing too crazy, honestly. 17,000 damage there. And of course, we have a Knight's Lightning Spear, which is really convenient for a lot of bosses. It's kind of becoming a favorite incantation of mine. I love that Night Lightning Spear. If it all hits, you can get between 6 and 10,000 damage, which is amazing. We're going to show off Rolana here and basically the moveset and all the different things you could do with Lightning. Though, keep in mind, more agile bosses, you're probably going to lean more towards Lightning Spear and Night Lightning Spear over Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike. Unless you want to take your chances at the RNG that Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike has, especially with small targets. There's a lot less RNG when you're facing bigger hitboxes. Even the Boar Rider, the Commander, he has a decent-sized hitbox, but Rolana's hitbox isn't that big. Alright, we're going to continue to show off Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike and continue to showcase for a little bit, but here shortly we're going to go over the build, location, everything you need to know to build an awesome Dragon Cult Lord. It's going to be amazing. I love the Dragon forms. It's an awesome addition. Also, I want to mention real quick that as far as the Dragon forms, they give you a little bit of a defensive boost, but it's nothing compared to armor. So if you want to put on something like Dragon Crest or something to make up for that. But for me, honestly, I did really well with the light roll. I was able to dodge a lot of attacks, and you have just enough defense if you pick up the Scattertree fragments anyways. And now we're going to go over the build real quick. We have the Gravelstone Seal plus 25. We're going to have the Jellyfish Shield, of course. We have no armor. You can't have any on. Godfrey Icon for chargeable incantations. Ritual Swords Talisman. Phlox Canvas Talisman. Lightning Scorpion Charm. We're doing lightning damage. Lightning Tier. Faith Tier. And then we're using the Priestess Heart. That's going to be the one that boosts Dragon Cult Incantations for us. We have 60 Vigor for this one, 23 Mind, 23 Endurance. We have 20 Strength, 15 Dexterity, 70 Faith with the Faith tier. Actually 80 after the Faith tier, so 70 base Faith and then 80 with the Faith tier. Then we're using Golden Vow, Halishaburi, Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike, Lightning Spear, and also Night Lightning Spear. All right, let's take a tour to get the books. Now, for the books, the first one that you're going to get Lightning Spear is right there on the map in Liurnia of the Lakes. And the second book is going to be in Farum Azula. I don't have the graces unlocked here, but I think it's past the second grace. There's an area full of enemies. It's a square room. You can't miss it. You run right past the book. You're going to pick that up for Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike. And now for our locations, the Jellyfish Shield should be right around here on the map. That's going to buff your incantations by a little bit. Not as much as it used to, but it still does. The next one up is going to be the Gravelstone Seal. You can get at the Capital. It's close to the West Capital Rampart site of Grace. You'll have to jump over the side, work your way down to the other round table hold. There's a knight out there that drops it. It's the one that attacks you up front. It's not the one behind him with the bow. It's the first one that you see. And next up here, you can grab the Lightning tier at this minor erdtree in Liurnia of the Lakes. You're going to want that because it also has some of the other elemental tiers as well. And then here is where you get Phlox Canvas Talisman. It's actually south of that, but Sellia Town of Sorcery. I'm going to leave the quest line for Melissa in the description below. After she dies, you can kill Gowrie for the Phlox Canvas Talisman. At Windham Catacombs, you can grab the Lightning Scorpion Charm. And that's going to, of course, boost your lightning damage. And then below this, you can grab the Ritual Sword Talisman by the Erdtree Gazing Hillside of Grace at Lux Ruins. This is a must-have for me when you're at full HP, 10% more damage. Then at this Everjail, not far from where we just were, you can grab the Godfrey icon when you're charging your incantations. And next up here is the Faith tier. You can grab that in the Weeping Peninsula. It's right there under the bridge by some plants. You can't miss it once you're over there. It's not too hard to find that one. You're definitely going to want that one for buffs for most builds. And then Golden Vow's just outside Volcano Manor. You're going to go all the way past the Ulcerated Tree Spirit, jump down a bridge. It's going to be on the other side of that bridge. Anastasia will invade you there. And then for Halishaburi, it's right here at the Frenzy Flaming Tower. And where do you get Knight Lightning Spear? Well, you can grab that at the Scorpion River Catacombs. You're going to have to work your way down to Rao Base, however you say it. Sorry, I'm terrible with some of the pronunciation in this game. But yeah, it's from Scorpion River Catacombs, and you can grab Knight's Lightning Spear. And now we're going to activate the Rock Heart, of course, because we want to boost Dragon Communion incantations now. This will boost them by 20%. We're going to change our form, and we're going to change up our build a little bit. I'm also going to show you a way in which you can use both with this build, because you technically can, although at the cost a little bit of your normal lightning damage. Yeah, so basically with this setup, you're going to be able to use Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike too. I'll show you how and whatnot, and you can boost it, and we'll show it in a little bit, and it's going to make the build definitely better. You're not going to get as much damage as the first setup for your lightning incantations, but the cool part is you could do both and still get a good amount of damage out of it. This is the buffing order for both, essentially. You're going to drink your tier first because it's the longest. Then you could use Golden Vow, which is also pretty long. Then you could hit either heart twice to get the buff. And, of course, you want to be in dragon form as well. And then you're going to use the Jellyfish Shield, after which you're going to use Halishiburi to boost your damage even more. And now the only difference here is which heart, essentially. So for this one, we're going to be using the Dragon Communion heart, and we're going to be using Dragon Fire because guess what? The Scatter Tree avatar is weak to fire, so we're going to take advantage of that. Alright, so the casting time on Dragon Communion incantations is relatively long. Unfortunately, some of the stuff like Dexterity and even the new Talisman you get, it doesn't boost the speed on incantations as much as it does spells, so it doesn't really increase it that much. So the one gripe that I have with the Dragon Communion incantations is their casting speed, because at times it could be difficult to use it. For instance, if you were trying to use this on the final boss, yeah, it's going to be really difficult to pull out that dragon head and then be able to use it. But it's cool having that Dragon Communion boost. If you take this back to the base game as well, you'll be able to destroy with it in a couple of the slower bosses in DLC. For DLC, though, out of the two, I definitely recommend the first setup. But again, we're going to show here in a little bit how you can kind of do both, which is amazing. And that way you don't have to respec or anything. And you can at least try both Dragon Hearts and see which one you end up liking better. For me, I like the Dragon Cult one better because the incantations are more powerful. And we're going to continue to use fire on the Scatter Tree avatar. Of course, there's no reason to really change from Dragon Fire here. He takes an additional 40% more fire damage, so it's going to be our strategy for the most part. If you're ever struggling with this boss, just like the regular tree avatars, takes additional fire damage. I know I said that once before, but I want to get that point across because I've seen a lot of people actually struggle with this boss. You will struggle substantially less if you are using fire. There's no question or no doubt in my mind. So Dragon Fire was nice there, and that 20% boost was huge. And now we're going to combine both. By the way, if I didn't mention where to grab the Dragon Communion Seal, it's in the very first dungeon you ever run across before the first step. So you can grab that pretty easily. There's a knight in that dungeon that drops it. So for this setup, we're going to use the Dragon Communion Seal in our right hand, and our left hand, the Gravelstone Seal. And this will allow us to use Dragon Ice or Dragon type incantations in terms of the Communion stuff, and then switch to the Cult Incantations when we want to as well, using the scaling that we have on the Dragon Communion Seal and the passive boost from the Gravelstone Seal. We also had Baal's Flame Lightning in there, which is the one I recommend getting out of the two, by the way. I haven't gotten much damage out of his other incantation yet. Maybe it's just me. A couple of the incantations so far in DLC have been a little bit lackluster. I'm hoping they get buffed in a future patch. But that's how you do it right there. You use the passive boost in your left hand, and then you use the Dragon Communion Seal to cast. You'll have 339 scaling. Let's jump into the build. And we have the Dragon Communion Seal. We also have the Jellyfish Shield. We have the Roar Medallion to boost breath attacks. We have Ritual Swords Talisman for generic damage. Phlox Canvas Talisman for incantations. Magic Scorpion Charm or Fire Scorpion Charm, depending on your damage type. Magic Tier or Flame Tier. Faith Tier. And the Rock Heart, too. Man, it's really cool being able to be a dragon. That's an awesome thing that we can turn into a dragon. We have 60 Vigor, 22 Mind, 20 Endurance, 20 Strength, 15 Dexterity, 23 Faith. That's 33 Faith with the Faith here, 60 Arcane, Golden Vow, Halishiburi, Dragon Ice, Baal's Flame Lightning, Glintstone Breath. Now, where do you get the Dragon Communion incantations? You're going to get that at Cathedral of Dragon Communion after you grab regular Dragon Hearts in the base game. And then for the DLC, You're going to have to defeat Baal to get his incantations and then take it to the Grand Altar of Dragon Communion, which we've actually been to twice at this point already. And now for your tiers, first you're going to grab the Faith tier in the same place, of course. We're using the same buffs, by the way. The Minor erdtree, you're going to grab all your elemental tiers here, except the Fire tier, which is at this Minor erdtree. And then as we continue on to grab what we need here, we have the Roar Medallion, which is at Limgrave Tunnels. You're going to grab that there. And then the next one up here, Gowery Shack, Flox Canvas Talisman. I'll leave the quest in the description below for that. And the next one really depends on what kind of damage type you want to do. Now, if you're going to use the Magic Scorpion Charm, I'll leave that quest in the description below. That's basically Ronnie's questline, part of Ronnie's and Celibus questline. And then the Fort in Mount Gelmer, that's where you get the Fire Scorpion Charm if you're doing fire damage. And then lastly here, we have the Ritual Swords Talisman at Lux Ruins. And thanks for watching this one. I hope you guys enjoyed the Dragon Forms in Elden Ring's Shadow of the Erdtree. These are really overpowered builds. You're going to have a lot of fun with them. Definitely be sure to sub if you're not subbed yet. If you have anything you'd like to see in a build video, be sure to comment below as well. But keep in mind, I'm focusing on a lot of the new weapons and new type things. We use some of the older stuff here because the Dragon Forms can boost them, but it's basically going to be if we could boost old stuff or the newer weapons. I hope everybody has a wonderful day.